Hello and welcome again to another episode of Nerf News, your number one source for Nerf news on the net. I'm your host, Drac, and today we're doing it without the weird wonky webcam thing because that worked out pretty well last time. You guys seemed to enjoy it. You replied or responded pretty well to the news about the Ultra 2. The Ultra 2, of course, being a revolver-style Ultra Blaster using the same sort of flywheel technology disappointment that the Ultra 1 gave us. However, there's a new kid on the block, and skipping right on over the Ultra 3, we're going to launch right into the Ultra 4. Now, we know that this is going to be the least expensive Ultra Blaster yet. We have 5 DPCIs for the Ultra series. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have something that I believe is called the Outlaw. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, but all of those are buried inside Target's DPCI system, which is their kind of internal inventorying system, and they tend to get things well in advance of other situations. So it lets us use things like BrickSeek to find leaks, but also in this case, it lets me just tell you that this leaked blaster image that I'm going to share with you very soon is going to cost 15 bones. So it makes it the cheapest out of all of the upcoming Ultra blasters. Now, as much as we wish that Ultra would die because it's frankly just very insulting to the community at large in a litany of different ways, this one is pretty boring. At $50, you get a breech-loaded pistol. Now, breech-loaded pistols can become really interesting things, really cool things, in the form of things like the Falcon Fire leading to the Spamf, etc., and so forth. Like, I think that breech loading is really, really cool, and like the old school NIC player in me just wants to operate a magic CPVC breech all day long. However, this one's going to be actuated in some sort of other form and fashion. While my little sister did a full artist rendition of the leak, I am just going to share with you the goods. So poring over this one tip to tail, we seem to have a breech underneath that gaudy Ultra logo. They're still going to do the gilding. At this point, I think it's virtually guaranteed to say that there will only be paint on one side of this blaster, and then inside it appears to have a single dart chambering area for one Ultra dart. Now, this is really interesting because springers in general rely on at least some form or fashion of good barrel fit. And while I'm a huge fan of closed breech systems for a variety of reasons, I know that Hasbro's always made do with about 3/4 to half of the effective dart length worth of sealed barrel area. And that's usually with a taper, and that's why Nerf guns tend to make a sort of pop noise when they fire, because they have way more pressure than their effectively very small barrel length can utilize. So the interesting thing about that is that the polystyrene, polypropylene-esque kind of darts that we're messing with in the Ultra line, and I've already done some torturous ASMR with them, are a very squeaky sort of material, and they're unibody in terms of their OD with their rubber tip and then their styrofoam-esque sort of body section. And so I'm very curious how they're going to perform in any sort of barreling material. I've had a couple of clandestine conversations with now former Nerf team members who have told me that they had to go through a lot of different barrel material to get it to perform in a Springer at all. And so I'm very curious to see if in production it's going to perform well. I'm sure that they're going to try and claim some sort of bombastic range out of this, and we can kind of assume based on how the Ultra marketing has gone thus far that that's going to be fallacious. But other than that, it's a night finder. It is a pullback plastic plunger handle kind of single plunger tube blaster that is going to fire a single Ultra dart out of its barrel. This is the pocket-sized pistol for the Ultra line, coming in at 15 United States dollars. That means that it's honestly priced probably the most reasonably out of a lot of these Ultra blasters compared to something like a Fire Strike or a Night Finder or a Big Shock, etc. Like, it's about there. Those are all roughly $10 blasters. For $5 extra, you get a little bit of gold spray paint and a lot of corporate lies. So if that's up your alley, the only other thing worth mentioning is that the grip actually looks relatively good. It's got a nice dovetail. Looks like it has some contouring and texturing on it that'll be decent. The trigger well looks ridiculously small in a way that's like almost unnecessary for a blaster like this. I understood in the Ultra 1 why the trigger well was so small, because the entirety of the Ultra 1's back end just felt cramped. But this is really interesting because there seems to be no rhyme or reason to make a tiny trigger in what appears to be a really small trigger well. Now, maybe I'm just off base and the trigger is normal sized and the entire blaster is completely cartoonishly huge or what have you. But for right now, all we have is this image. The only compliment I have for the Ultra 4 is that I really like how they worked the 4 into the design DNA of the blaster. I think that that looks good. And then I'm very sad that almost without fail, when you flip this blaster over, that's not going to be on the other side. Instead, we'll have just a litany of embossed text on there, making one side of it relatively handsome in profile and the other side pretty poor. So that's just my take on it right now. Everything that I've said is, of course, pure speculation based on this admittedly very real image that we have of the Ultra 4. And we'll know more as we get closer and closer to New York Toy Fair in February, which I'm really looking forward to. I've been to New York Toy Fair a few times at this point, and I think that I'm really getting the hang of the trade show, and I love making lots and lots of content about brand new and exciting blasters for you guys there. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. I'm definitely looking forward to New York Toy Fair. And then more to the point, I want to let you guys know that if you have questions, both about what's coming up in 2020, or if you want to see something really cool tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be live on my Twitch, twitch.tv/VampireDrac. Jinx will be there, showing off her brand new haircut, and I'm putting together the world's first, to my knowledge, entirely resin printed Talon Claw, Caliburn, Nerf blaster of any variety or sort. And I'm really excited. A lot of people have told me that once I get it together, it's just going to shatter itself into a million pieces. And that is a possibility. But if it works, it'll be an incredibly gorgeous, very unique blaster. And I want to talk more about that as we kind of stitch it together and try a super cool brand new material live for you guys on the interwebs. So come hang out with me, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, whatever that is in your local time zone. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'll be there. Jinx will be there. She's very proud of her new haircut. I think that she's looking pretty cute. And I'll see you guys there. Much love. Nerf on. Drac out.